So from there, let's actually move a little bit. And we're going to do some stretching, which is always good before we sit still for an hour. So, as I always say, don't do any stretching that you don't want to do. Don't do anything that's weird for your body or feels uncomfortable in any way. These are just suggestions. Okay, you do not have to do these. And if you want to do stuff that's really harder, go for it. Okay, so other than that, we'll just do the basics that we always do. We'll begin by stretching up way on your tippy toes up towards the ceilings, also stretching out your fingers, which feels good, but mainly getting your shoulders and the sides of your ribs nice and open. Just hold that for a minute, looking up, straight up if you can, on your tippy toes if you can. And then breathing out, come down and just rest for a moment. And then breathing out again, we'll go down this way. And get a nice side stretch. If you can, if it's available to you, you can actually turn and touch the ground on this side. If not, that's okay. But that feels good. Then come back to this. And then breathing, come on up. Just rest here for a minute. Remember, if it's too hard, don't do it. And then breathing out again, come this way. Getting a nice side stretch. And if it's available to you, turning and touching. And then coming back to side stretch. And then up. And then resting here for a minute. And then we'll go straight down, allowing the head to dangle, touching the ground if you can. Getting a nice back stretch. This feels really good. Bend one knee to get a nice stretch in the other leg. Then bend the second knee to get a nice stretch in the first leg. And then gently, gently, super slowly roll your back up. Arms still out here, have your arms out here. And then we're going to do some hula hoop. This is great for meditation because you're opening up your hips a little bit. So again, only if it's comfortable, do nice big ones because you want to get your hip joints opening. Go back the other way. We should just have some hula hoops anyway, because that would be fun. I think that might be the next on our list of things to get. And then do really tiny ones. And that's it. That's just a little bit of stretching. You can shake stuff out if you want. And now we'll be sitting really, really still for an hour. The one I will be moving to sometimes have a drink because I have to talk, but other than that, I'll try to be as still as possible. Thank you, Forrest. So make sure that you're, if possible, your hips are kind of rolled just ever so slightly forward. We usually do that by having our hip joints just above our knee joints a little bit, so that our pelvis rotates forward just a tiny bit. It's that nice curve in your lower back, and that'll just make your spine easily lift upward. The very, very tip top of your head, the top point should feel like it's just being almost like pulled upward with an invisible thread to the ceiling. And you can move around just a little bit with your spine, but you'll find there's just this one perfect spot where The absolutely least amount of effort is required to keep the back upright. In fact, it almost just feels like it's floating upright. And it looks like all of you have your chin tucked, which is good. We don't want to get into a situation where our chin's pointing out like that, or even too tucked, just a little bit, so that it keeps that spine just feeling just right. And then your hands either like this, or like this, or this. All good. Now, as usual, I'd like you to just check in with yourself. How's it going? Or as I say, what's it like to be me right now? The thoughts, the emotions, your regular, just how's your body feel, how's your life going, just the whole thing, just check in, take almost like the temperature or the weather report. But it's very important that as you do this, that no matter what the weather is, it's perfect. Okay? Even if you're upset and in a bunch of pain and all that, for now, for the meditation, that's just the way it is, and that's perfect. Okay? So we're not judging our state, we're just checking in with how we're doing. So let's just do that for a moment. How's it going? What's it like to be you right now? Good. And next I'd like you to just tune into a sense of spaciousness, a sense of openness, a sense of ease. And from that space of open ease, just begin to notice the rising and falling breath. So we're not focusing on it, we're not narrowing attention. Attention is very broad, it's vast and open. But into that awareness, we're noticing that the sense of the breath appears rising and then appears falling. Without any effort, we don't have to focus on it, we're just aware of it. We're being absolutely still now. And just notice how awareness is already aware. We don't have to do anything to make ourselves aware. We're not flipping on some special awareness button. We're not extra efforting. Or if we are, it's not helping. That doesn't do anything. The awareness is already there. It's already there. And into that awareness, we're noticing that the sense of the breath rising and falling is just occurring. So let's do that together now for a little while. gently, just staying with the breath. Again, not focusing hard, not trying too hard, just very gently noticing the body sensations of breathing appear in awareness and staying with that. Mainly simply resting as spacious awareness, already existing, easy, open, free awareness. Now I want you to make sure that you're aware of every moment of that breath. Again, not focusing on it hard, but simply aware of it throughout its entire cycle. Notice the arising of the in-breath and the movement of the in-breath, and then the end of the in-breath. And then sometimes there's a pause there. And then notice the beginning of the out-breath, and all the way through each moment of the out-breath, and then the end of the out-breath. And then often there's a pause there as well. So even though we're not narrowly focusing on it, we're just aware, we're aware of every moment of it, without missing even a millisecond. often in here we do various kinds of visualizations. Usually I leave it a little open. You can get kind of creative with your own process. But tonight we're going to do a very specific visualization of the bodhisattva named Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of compassion. Avalokiteshvara has 1,000 arms. And each of these arms is symbolic of reaching out to help relieve the suffering of some being. So the bodhisattva has metaphorically infinite arms performing infinite acts of compassion for infinite beings. And the mantra of this bodhisattva is the very famous mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. So I want you to picture the bodhisattva of compassion, Avalokiteshvara. Just picture a meditating Buddha-like figure, but with 1,000 arms in a circle around them, able to take infinite action on behalf of all beings. And if you want to, you can even silently in your mind recite the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, if that appeals to you. Either way, I want you to see the eyes of Avalokiteshvara opening, including the third eye opening and gazing into your being. And as the eyes of Avalokiteshvara open and gaze into you, you feel that profound sense of both wisdom, the wisdom of emptiness, the wisdom of clarity, and of course also the tremendous heart of kindness, of caring, of joy and compassion. What is compassion? Compassion is that feeling that you actually care and want to do something to help. It's motivational. It's not simply a feeling, it's much deeper than that. Sometimes we mix it up with empathy. It's different than empathy. Empathy means you're having the same feeling as the person you're thinking about. Compassion is about wanting to help, caring deeply and wanting to help. So feel that tremendous sense of being regarded as a being who matters, feeling loved, feeling cared for, feeling kindness, feeling joy, feeling really met in all your sorrows, in all your difficulties, by this loving, radiant bodhisattva. And actually see a beam of pure compassion coming from the heart of Avalokiteshvara into your heart. And feel it filling up your being. And I'll just recite the mantra here a little bit. You can just do it silently if you wish. Just a few times. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Continuing to feel that radiant compassion flowing into your being, filling your being, loving and healing your being. Good. Now, breathing in, take the image of Avalokiteshvara into your heart. Breathe Avalokiteshvara directly into your own heart, where the image plugs in and begins to radiate powerfully from your own heart, so that the energy and wisdom and compassion of Avalokiteshvara, which translates as the one who hears the cries of the world, starts beaming out from your being. I want you to picture this energy radiating out, and I want you to very clearly picture it helping everyone it touches, bringing kindness, bringing gentleness, bringing caring, bringing joy, healing, love, connection to every being it touches. See and feel that very clearly. See the happiness, the love, the joy on the faces of all the beings it touches. Or if it's non-human beings, see their tails wagging or them jumping around or whatever they do when they feel joy and love and being cared for and peace. all that energy radiating out powerfully, powerfully in all directions, and see it clearly affecting all the beings. Generating endless joy, endless compassion, endless kindness and caring. There is no limit. It just keeps pouring through. Remaining perfectly still. Good. Now we're going to flip it around. And instead of bringing joy and kindness and caring and compassion, I want you to take in all the suffering. So into ourselves we're taking in all the pain, all the sorrow, all the suffering of every being in the universe. And we're feeling it. Every beaten and abused child, every mistreated animal, all the suffering of all the beings everywhere, not just on earth, but on everywhere. Bring it into yourself. Take it on so that they don't have to feel it. We take their pain, we take their suffering into ourselves and feel it deeply. Seeing it as empty, seeing it as handleable because of our vast, spacious awareness. There's more than enough room to take it on without it becoming a problem. But neither do we try to avoid it. We fully feel it. Let it break your heart. Let it break your heart wide open. If it's not breaking your heart, imagine a little more clearly what's really going on out there. With each in-breath, we take in more and more and more of the sorrows of the world. Where Avalokiteshvara in our heart burns it away with no remainder. Burns it away with no ashes. And yet we feel it deeply. Don't hold back. Let yourself really feel it. The love and wisdom of Avalokiteshvara in our own heart, burning it all away. Good, now let's switch back. We've taken in all the pain, taken in all the suffering now. Having burned that all away entirely without any remainder. The wisdom light, the compassionate warmth of Avalokiteshvara beams out with joy and kindness and caring, bringing relief to the sorrow, bringing kindness, the kindest, most helpful touch, warmth, caring, compassion to all beings everywhere. Everyone's scared and sad and trapped and alone and without any help, feels suddenly this touch of kindness, this ray of warmth and caring. The caring that comes from a truly broken, open heart that feels so deeply. Radiating out in all directions, really feel it. Joy, kindness, caring, wisdom, compassion, love. Good. Now allow the image of Avalokiteshvara in the heart to just dissolve into space. Let all thoughts dissolve into space. Let all sense of the body dissolve into space. Let emotion dissolve into space. Let all conceptual fabrication dissolve into space, and simply rest in the open awareness of the great perfection. free from all doing, free from all distraction, free from all concepts, simply resting as the awareness that is always present. It's always there, there's nothing to do except allow awareness to be itself. If you notice yourself getting caught up in thought, just let go and fall back into open awareness. And if you get caught up in thought again, just relax again, let it go. Drop back into simple awareness. Spacious, open awareness. Even if the mind kickstarts into thought 1,000 times, just let go back into open space 1,001. sense of doing, letting go of any need to change anything, letting go of any arising thought, just allowing it to become space, not hanging on to it. So we come back to our own vast, spacious awareness, which is already present, which is primordially present. It's always been there. Just come back to that and rest, wide awake, crisp, clear, unfabricated, absolutely pristine. Open. Complete. Awake. Good. Now again, allow within this vast, spacious awareness the vision of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara to arise with 1,000 arms of compassionate helpfulness. And once again, radiate out this love and joy and kindness and caring in all directions. And feel it for yourself too. You're a being too. Don't skimp. Don't leave yourself out. Avalokiteshvara has wisdom and kindness for all. joy and kindness and love and caring, filling you up and radiating out in all directions. Touching the heart of all beings everywhere. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Good. Let's end the meditation there. Feel free to move and stretch. Feel free to keep feeling the compassionate heart of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara for as long as you want. That's always available. In other languages, Avalokiteshvara is also known as Kuan Yin or Kanon. It's the Bodhisattva of compassion. Chenrezig. So we talk in here, I talk a lot about emptiness, right? We notice the emptiness of things. We notice vast space, any particular appearance, any spontaneous appearance of anything tends to, or can tend to just dissolve into space or be seen as space. And this understanding of emptiness and ability to really notice it is part of this is the wisdom component of your own already existing bodhisattva nature, right? We all have a bodhisattva nature that's already there, it's already complete, it's already fully awake in its own right. And its wisdom component is that it sees the emptiness of all things. That doesn't mean they're not there, that doesn't mean they're nothing, it means that they have no inherent nature, their appearance in the fullest sense of that term. But they don't have a ground. And so that's the wisdom part of our wisdom nature, right? That's our deepest wisdom, is this understanding of emptiness. But what's funny is people tend to lean into just that, like that's it. And there can be this sense that Awareness itself, vast spacious awareness, this clear awareness, is somehow kind of neutral, or sort of sterile, or sort of cold, or when we say it's empty, that can feel like it's kind of vacuous in sort of an uncaring way, and that it has some kind of supreme neutrality to it. But that is not the case. The bodhicitta, the awakened mind of your already existing Buddha nature, has that wisdom component of emptiness, but it also has the compassion component, which is just as deep and just as important. It's totally not neutral. It is utterly kind and utterly caring and warm. Now, that doesn't mean it always feels like overwhelming, gushy. It can be, strong or weak, or have different flavors, but it is essentially caring. It is essentially kind and warm. And the two things come together. They go together. They're never, you can't have one without the other. So for example, because emptiness shows us the non-duality of self and other, there's no real boundary between self and other. That's the wisdom of emptiness, showing the non-duality of this apparent boundary. Because that boundary is empty, everyone else is us, and we are them, and so that makes that immediate kindness, that immediate caring, that immediate compassion totally natural. It's not something we have to generate. It's just instantly there. And in the same way, the compassion as it arises, when you really see the suffering of others, and it breaks your heart open, that broken heart will show you the emptiness. Will show you the non-dual nature of everything. The fact that there's no real boundary, and that any sense of a boundary is kind of a temporary and contingent fiction that we're using to just kind of move through the world more easily. But that shattered open heart of total compassion will just reveal the emptiness of that immediately. And the sort of immediate and intimate and direct caring for others is the instant result. That doesn't have to make us stupid. There's such a thing as idiot compassion, right? Where, I guess in the West we would call it something like enabling, where someone who's killing themselves with whiskey, and they just want to drink, your compassion doesn't cause you to give them another bottle of whiskey to relieve their need for more. That's idiot compassion, right? That's not helping anybody. We would call that enabling. So we can still be wise. It's not somehow necessary to almost injure ourselves or others to try to help. Right? That's almost an oxymoron. So there's still a wisdom component in there. There's also the idea of fierce compassion. That would be more like the anti-enabling. In order to help someone, you might have to have a stern talk with them, or an intervention or something. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is be very sharp. So it doesn't always look like, it's nice to be nice. It can have some more nuance than that. A lot more nuance than that. And in the same way, emptiness is nuanced. It's not simply that things aren't there or something. Everything dissolves into space and that's the end of the story. Because it's not the end of the story. Everything that it appears is itself radiant, awake space. Even conceptual fabrication, the opposite of emptiness, is empty and is just radiant, awake space. It can seem like when we're letting go of thought or letting thought dissolve back into awakeness that we're somehow against thought or anti-thought, which we're not, because again, the core of each thought is itself radiant awakeness. It's itself totally enlightened. We just want to recognize that rather than only sort of being lost in the jumble of the thought. So what we did tonight is sort of a slow Tonglen, right? Normally if you do the practice called giving and receiving Tonglen, you do it on the in-breath and the out-breath each time. But we just did a really slow version of it, where there's a long time of giving but compassion to the world and a long time of taking in the sorrows. So we would call this practice Slow Tonglen. Just gives you more time to kind of get into each part of it. But again, it's funny because people will tend to think that a practice like Tonglen is somehow less than, this super intense concentration practice or this super strong, sharp emptiness practice. But that is absolutely not the case. Because again, bodhicitta has both the wisdom of emptiness but the power of compassion. And getting that real sense of compassion going can drop us into awake awareness just as powerfully or even more powerfully than some kind of sharp emptiness practice. And if you want to check how your compassion and emptiness are doing, just notice the resistance to taking on the suffering. You really start doing that practice if there's, I want to cover it and hide it, I don't really want it to touch me, and that kind of thing. There's your, there's your edge. That's to that extent, we can look more deeply into emptiness. Whereas when it just breaks you open and you don't hold back, then we're starting to really feel the depth of it, the power of it. Questions or comments or reports? Yes. Please speak up.
Okay. I have two questions. I'll just do one first. I'm sorry if it's annoying. I'm just really curious what you have to say. You said that everyone has a compassionate nature. I'm just wondering, what about people who do a lot of bad things like Putin? How do we know if they also have that?
How do we know that bad people have a compassionate nature? Even Putin has his children and gives, takes care of them, his own children. There's a little tiny ember visible of that compassionate nature. People do get lost in delusion, get lost in their hatred, their greed, their fear, their disgust, their sadness. They get lost in that. But if we could dig out all that muck, underneath there is a pure, radiant bodhisattva of compassion. That's just like if you imagine this million-year-old diamond statue of a Buddha that's lit up from inside, but it's just at the bottom of a 1,000-mile deep sewer, but it's still perfect in there. And if we bring it up and we'll rinse it off, it's absolutely untouched. And so that's the idea. Every human being is fundamentally sane, fundamentally kind, fundamentally beautiful, fundamentally wise. But that can get really lost and covered up, especially after a lifetime of just piling on the delusion. So but at a certain point, you just start seeing that about people. You see their own Buddha nature, even if they don't see it. And that's the weirdest thing, is that sometimes you can see it and they don't. But it's there. And so we always, little by little, through our own work, through our own meditation, through our own helping of others and all that, that helps to reveal that in others. Or helps them to see it about themselves. But it can be funny when you see it and they don't. It can be kind of a funny moment. Odd funny, not haha funny. Does that make sense? Good, thanks for your question. Stephen, can you talk loud, Stephen?
Do you have a story or an anecdote of a time in which you saw it and they didn't? I think that would be a really interesting challenge to pull that out.
Yeah, it's not a very satisfying story, but I remember when I first really started seeing that clearly, I would just talk to someone's Buddha nature, like, okay, well, clearly you understand this, that, and the other, or act as if they must know it. And the funny thing is, and this is an odd way to talk, but their Buddha nature does know it. But it's not through all the layers of ignorance, it's not reaching kind of their normal mind. And so there was a friend of mine that I would see this, and he was very depressed. And we were super good friends, and he was quite depressed. And at first I used to really talk to his Buddha nature and thought that between me and talking to his Buddha nature, he could just kind of see what was going on with him and work it out. So I worked really, really hard for years to kind of directly do that. And I finally got it. It took a long time for me to realize he doesn't see that part of himself. That's why this isn't working. He doesn't see it at all. And if I talk about it, he thinks I'm insane. And so I learned that you can't force that on somebody, and you can't expect them to see that. Not a very satisfying story, but after a while it becomes the story of every day. And this is another place where you'll notice the compassion arising is just, you can see everyone's Buddha nature and they can't see it about themselves. And it's very sad. And so you want to help. On the other hand, you can't force that helping on anybody. So you just silently feel compassion. That could sound arrogant or paternal or something, but it's more like having your heart broken continuously. Now, does it sound like fun to have your heart broken continuously? Most people think that sounds like hell. But remember, the Buddha nature is pure compassion, and so as your heart is broken, it drops you back into your own deepest wisdom, your own most fundamental okayness. So we don't resist that broken heart. We let it break further and further because at the very furthest last brokenness, we see it's absolutely pure awakening, pure, bright, clear wakefulness. What else? Other questions or comments? You got another question?
Yeah, if no one else wants to.
Sure.
The other question is when you said imagining all the beings being touched by this light of compassion and feeling joy.
Yes.
And at the retreat last weekend, you said a harder version of that, which is like imagine all the beings that are suffering and tortured also receiving this joy. I found that extremely hard, especially in comparison to later, you said imagine all the suffering. I found that part really easy. Just, yeah, there are so many cases. And the first part is really hard. I imagine a lot of others feel the same. I wonder.
Certain parts of it are really hard, and when I say really hard, I mean heartbreaking, right? It's so sad. But that does, okay.
Sad part like more real, and that everyone is receiving joy, especially those that are suffering receiving joy. I just cannot imagine that.
Keep trying. Keep trying. It's not about whether, you can really make that happen in the world. I mean, of course, we try to really make it happen in the world, but it's not about some logical, rational mechanism. It's about seeing it anyway, imagining it anyway. So it's heart-based. We're coming back to our heart, not seeing how we can possibly make that happen in all cases. If you're going there, you're lost in concepts. And so we just let go of the concept and come back to that pure wish that if you were in the room with that person being tortured, you would want to help them feel better. You would want to do something and you want them to feel that. And you do anything you could. That's what you're beaming out to them.
So is it okay to imagine specific things that I could do and then?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Yes?
Yeah, I guess a follow-up.
So talk real loud. You got a mask on.
Yes, maybe a follow-up on that. When you give these instructions that sort of involve making contact in some way with all beings, with giving something, receiving from, feeling all beings, I sort of feel like I can see two ways of approaching this, and I'm wondering if one of them is sort of...
Which one makes you feel the most compassion?
I feel like I can start to get there either way, and I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure I quite feel completely opening at it. This is kind of, do I start with a bird's eye view, trying to sort of look at everything at once and then make that feel more concrete, or sort of just visualizing sort of faces one by one, starting at the individual.
Most people find starting individual is much more powerful because you can relate. Yeah, that's usually a million people is a statistic, right? But one person you can really relate to. So we want to keep it on the relational level and keep it in a way that we actually feel the compassion arising. Yes?
I have a report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
2 hours ago, I had a really traumatic thing, and I just went into a shock state. And two of my friends here held really great space for me. I was like a little child. I was like, I'm bad, I'm gonna die, I wanna die. And it felt such a big weight that I wanted to just not face it.
Yes.
Whew. And coming here, I felt like I got a lot of relief, particularly with the rest in spaciousness, and then the Tonglen practice was, wow, that really broke my heart open. Especially since I was feeling my own suffering, and then imagining the suffering of all of these different people, and how much worse it got. Just I really felt the suffering every day.
Yes.
And it's a lot easier for me to have compassion for people than to like judge or to like try to survive or whatever it was. And then and also having the heart of Kuan Yin, receiving that first and then receiving that again and being it out. I felt like it helped me bring me out of my collapsed state into more of like, okay, yeah, I have compassion, I can receive and give.
That's right. That's what that kind of visualization does. It's a resource, right? We realize we have a lot of resource available.
Yeah.
And so even if we're, all crushed from feeling all the suffering of the world or even just our own suffering, we tap into that resource and guess what? It's right there,
Yeah.
right? You imagine it and it will start immediately helping.
And the interesting thing about it was that what started helping me was imagining the suffering of all the other people. That somehow took me out of my own
That's right.
spiral.
That's right. Absolutely. What is your name?
David.
Hi, David.
Hi. Oh, thank you.
Thanks. Good. So anything else? Anyone have something to report or a question?